Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Explorer channel. Today we are going to take a look at some of the best liquidity pools with Bitcoin for beginners. It's going to be sort of a follow-up for my exact last video that I did the same thing but with Ethereum paired with a stable currency. And the reason why I do advocate for beginners to start with the stable currency paired with the blue chip is because one, a blue chip asset is an asset that you don't mind holding even if the value goes down. And two is because you're going to be much more protected against impermanent loss. So if Bitcoin price goes down, that's when you suffer impermanent loss if you sell. Because if you don't sell your position, you're still holding to your Bitcoin, although it's valued less. When price goes back up, you never really realize that loss because you didn't sell your position. So right now the current price of Bitcoin is $56,100 roughly. Let's say you want to set up your range to anything in between $55,000 and $57,000. This is going to be a very tight range. It's just to show you how this is going to work. So basically, when you're doing that with Bitcoin and the stablecoin, you're saying that if the price goes above $57,000, Bitcoin price goes above that, you will be selling the entirety of your position for the stablecoin. So you're gonna get, let's say you started deploying $1,000 worth of a mix of Bitcoin and the stablecoin, because that's what happens when you provide concentrated liquidity. You are depositing 50-50, 50% of that worth of Bitcoin and 50% of that worth of a stablecoin. This can change. It can have different balances. It can be 60-40, 70-30, depending on how you set up your ranges. But overall, it works like this. And you'll see better how it works as you progress and you get more experienced with providing liquidity. But let's go with the 50-50 example for the sake of explaining. Now, if the price of Bitcoin drops below 55,000, that's the lower entry of your range. If that happens, your position, your $1,000 get fully converted into Bitcoin. You're buying the dip, basically. If you opt out of your position, because if it goes out of range and you don't sell your position because you don't have to, you are in full control of your funds, only in that moment you will realize your loss or profits. So it's unrealized until the point that you decide to go out of your position, all right? So it depends on how you're looking at the markets. If you think the price is going to back down into your position or back up into your position, and you start generating fees again. If the price goes out of range, you don't generate fees. If the price is within range, you generate fees. And the fees are also paid 50-50 in Bitcoin and the stablecoin of choice. You can claim those at any time you want, multiple times a day. It's up to you. And also what you do after that with your claimed fees, it's also up to you. You can convert the whole thing into Bitcoin and send it to your Bitcoin wallet, to your bag where you're holding Bitcoin, for example. That can be a strategy. So these are just options. You do what you want to do. I like these positions because they are heavily used. It's Bitcoin with the stablecoin. It's going to be a really used pair regardless of chain, but we're going to look at chains that have the higher volume, of course. And after all, it's Bitcoin. I want an asset that is going to appreciate in price in the future. I think it's a really great option, one of the best options to grow your Bitcoin in the current age of DeFi. So why not provide liquidity and get paid passively with the fees that are being generated when people do trade Bitcoin for a stablecoin or vice versa? And one of the risks, so to say, of this method of providing liquidity with Bitcoin is that, for example, you start with $1,000 and then Bitcoin's price skyrockets and you're just left thinking, okay, I should have invested those $1,000 in Bitcoin. Right now they would be worth more because I don't get those $1,000 to be fully exposed to Bitcoin. And as you can see here in the charts, the volume for the past 24 hours is over 80%. And the beauty about providing liquidity is just that it doesn't really mind what price the currency is at. And if it generates volume, it generates fees, and you can earn on that. So for that reason, let's jump into DeFi Llama here, and we're looking at DEXs. And right now from the chart, you can see the market is really bullish. You can compare it even to the heights of 2021, summer of 2021. and early 2022, so it's looking good. So let's see here which are the decentralized exchanges that are showing up with more volume. Now I'm going to go manually through Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and also in this video we can see what's happening here on Solana. We can see what's happening on Orca or Radium, because overall they have a ton of volume. So let's see, they might have something for us when it comes to Bitcoin liquidity pools. And I can also see what I can find on CAMELOT, for example, Trader Joe, QUICKSWAP. I can also take a look into those, and if there's something worth mentioning, I'll include it in the video. But let's start by taking a look at the pools that are available on Solana. Then we can go on Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and all the others. Now I just took a look into Radium, didn't find anything all that interesting right now. So here on Orca, what do we get? The more juicy one is this one, Wrapped Bitcoin paired with USDC. The current yield for the past 24 hours, it's not all that impressive. It's 0.04%, but this is a pool for the long run. You have much more interesting yields with Bitcoin or Wrapped Bitcoin paired with Solana, for example, but it's going to be much more prone to impermanent loss. That's why for beginners, I do recommend the Wrapped Bitcoin paired with USDC for the reasons I mentioned before. Although, again, this is not financial advice, this is just me sharing my own perspectives and opinions, all right? Now here on Orca, you can also see the fees generated for the past 24 hours by a specific pair. And there's also going to be other volatile assets paired with Bitcoin, but when it comes to Bitcoin paired with a stablecoin, this is the pool that is showing the best performance so far on Orca. So if you are into the Solana blockchain, you might want to check this out for a Bitcoin pair. Now let's jump in here to Uniswap. As you can see, we are on the Ethereum blockchain, and the first most traded token for, let's see, the past 7 days. Let's sort this out by 7 days volume. And actually we have Wrapped Bitcoin paired with Ethereum at the 4th ranking place. But again, this is not going to be that much beginner friendly because of two volatile assets, impermanent loss, right? So let's see where we can find Bitcoin paired with the stable currency. And here we have it, Wrapped Bitcoin paired with USDC. For the past week, this has been the 13th most traded pair, and the current day APR, and it's looking really good, very close to 0.5% a day, which is huge. So if it wasn't the fact that Ethereum, it's not that beginner-friendly blockchain to provide liquidity, in my opinion, because highly likely you're going to make some mistakes and gas fees on Ethereum are just ridiculous. If it wasn't for that, this would be a top pair in my opinion, but since we have to consider that Ethereum's gas fees are, after all, they're going to be a cost, because all the interactions that you do with the blockchains, being it depositing your position into the liquidity pool, removing your deposit, claiming fees, all of those things cost gas, and a simple transaction in Ethereum mainnet can cost you from $20 to $100, can get crazy. So that's why I do not recommend to start with providing liquidity on Ethereum mainnet. So for that reason, let's move on to Optimism. Okay, so what I did here is that I inserted on the search bar WBTC for Wrapped Bitcoin pairs, and it's showing me all the pairs that include this specific token. And now we're having the 3rd and 4th position for the past week, showing us that USDC paired with Wrapped Bitcoin and Wrapped Bitcoin paired with USDC have been doing the best when it comes to volume. So the difference between these two pools is that you see the numbers here on front of them, 0.3%, and then the other has 0.05%. This is the fee that is going to be applied when people trade these assets in this specific pool. So overall, the pool ranking 3rd is doing the best. You can see it by the 1-day APR. It has the highest APR. This is a really great APR, I would say, for Bitcoin paired with a stablecoin overall. The TVL is not that deep. It would be better if it would be around, for example, 1 million, but it is what it is, and we can still work with that, of course. Now, if you look down here on the number 6 ranking place, you have the same pair that we have on the 4th ranking place when it comes to the fee being applied. And you see that although they have the same fee percentage, they do have different volumes and different TVLs, and that's going to be the biggest difference when it comes to the daily APR. And overall, these pools are not performing all that well generally, because when it comes to daily volume, none of them is at least equal to the TVL. So they can and they will perform much better at some point in time. But this also goes to show why I do keep telling you in many of my videos that I think providing liquidity it's a long-term, mid to long-term type of game. Now let's see what else we get, but now on a different blockchain. Let's jump on to BNB. Now a couple of things I want to point out when it comes to the BNB Smart Chain. Number one, you'll probably get better pools on PancakeSwap because that's the native DEX for the BNB Smart Chain. We'll take a look into that also later on when we finish up the Uniswap round. But also notice that I had to remove the W because with the W you wouldn't find any token. The BTCB is the specific token for Binance Smart Chain when you want to provide liquidity to Bitcoin, or if you want to hold Bitcoin on this specific chain. It's issued by Binance and it's a token that is pegged one-to-one to Bitcoin, but it's not technically Bitcoin. But if you want to hold Bitcoin in this specific blockchain, this is the token to go for, okay? So for the past 7 days, what we do have here when it comes to Bitcoin paired with stablecoins, we got a ton of them actually here. On the top 5, 4 of them are Bitcoin paired with stablecoins. But again, the APR are not that impressive right now. The one which is doing the best is Bitcoin paired with USDC here on the 0.3% fee range for the pool. So it's the 5th most traded pair, and the daily APR is very interesting right now. But the TVL is not that high. You see, it's rather shallow. It might not be all that much interesting when compared, for example, with this one, USDT paired with Bitcoin. It has over $500,000 in currently the TVL. But that's also why this pool is not generating as much daily APR, as you can see, because the volume to TVL ratio, it's not the best. For example, on this 5th pair, you have roughly half of the TVL in volume for the past day. That's why you see this APR higher. When it comes to compared with the 4th pair, USDT paired with BTCB, you see the volume here is just a fraction. It's not even 10% of the TVL. That's why you see the APR so low. So overall, this is not all that much impressive, but remember, we're taking a look at BNB Smart Chain pools, but on Uniswap, I bet we'll get much better results later on when we switch up to PancakeSwap. But let's move on to the next chain. Now here on Polygon, I'm pretty sure we're going to find a really good one, and yeah, here it is. Bitcoin paired with USDC, fee range 0.05%, and this tends to be a very reliable pair. It's one of my personal favorites, one of the best overall. The TVL is over 1 million. The daily volume usually is very much on pair with the TVL. Right now it's doing super well. It's around 3 times higher. So it's definitely a printer. And you will see over time that this pair tends to be very consistent. So it's one of my personal favorites. It's also on Polygon, which is extremely cheap to deposit and collect fees and to withdraw your liquidity. It's extremely cheap. So I really like this pair here. You have the same pair down here on the 5th spot, but with the 0.3% fee range. The fees here are higher, so it's also doing really well in the 1-day APR. And again, this can fluctuate. Tomorrow this can climb up some positions, and the second spot can also drop some positions. So it's also a way for you to diversify and allocate your liquidity in between these two pools. You can average it out also in that way, but you could also, of course, move your funds to one pool to another, because like I said, this chain is extremely cheap when it comes to gas. But I really like these couple of pools on Polygon. So let's take a look at the next one on Base. And right now this is a single pool that Uniswap has on Base, and it's on Uniswap v2, so it's not all that interesting. But there's other options for DEXs on base. I'll also take a look into that, but let's finish up the roundup here on Uniswap by going to the next one. All right, things are looking good again back here on ARBITRUM. First most traded pair for the past 7 days when it comes to Bitcoin pairs is wrap Bitcoin paired with USDT, 0.05% fee range, TVL over 2 millions, volume over 3x's when it comes to volume, and the daily APR 0.18%. So this is doing really well. It's definitely printing some Bitcoin. Number 3, we have wrap Bitcoin paired with USDC. It's doing even better if you look at the daily APR. And the reason is because of the volume to TVL ratio. If you see the daily volume here for the past 24 hours is 5x the TVL, while here on the first pair it's below that, it's roughly 3x. So that's why it's printing less, it's showing a higher the APR for this despite it having a lower volume right now. So you see how it is important to consider the volume to TVL ratio when it comes to this. I also like this last one here on the list, the 5th place. Again, it's Bitcoin paired with USDT on the 0.3% fee range, and that is also very interesting, although it's not doing that good again because of the volume to TVL ratio. But overall, the winner here when it comes to printing more Bitcoin recently is the 3rd most traded pair for the past week. So with this 1 day APR, you can look at every 4 to 5 days get 1% on your position. But then again, this is always going to be projections based on past metrics. We never know what's going to happen with the markets, but as it is of now, it's looking really good in my opinion. All right, let's jump to PancakeSwap right now. Let's see what we can find here when it comes to Bitcoin paired with a stablecoin. From personal experience, I know that we would find a really good pair here, which is USDT paired with BTCB, 0.05% fee range. On PancakeSwap, this has been the 4th most traded pair. And as you can see for the past day, it's printing because the volume to TVL ratio is 2x. Let's click on it to get more details on the position so you can see how many fees it has generated. So for the past day, this pool generated over $10,000 worth of fees. And again, they are paid half in Bitcoin, half in USDT. The only thing you should consider is just the fact that Binance is going to be more expensive than other Ethereum layer 2s. When you compare it with Polygon, with Base, Arbitrum, those fees are going to be much lesser than on Binance. If you start with a small bag here on Binance, if you want to provide, let's say, $50, $100 worth of liquidity here on PancakeSwap, if you make too tight of a range, deploying and removing your position will cost you maybe anything in between a dollar to a couple dollars, and you might not generate that in fees. I'm just putting that out there for people that start with small bags to understand the risks here on Binance. If you're starting with such amounts for your bag like $50, yes, you can still generate fees. $100, yes, you can still generate fees. But the costs will be higher on the BNB Smart Chain. You might get better luck with Polygon, for example, with Base, with Solana even, which is extremely cheap. But if you're starting here on PancakeSwap, on the BNB Smart Chain especially, be aware of that, okay? Now I took a look at some of the other chains that PancakeSwap also offers, and they don't have really interesting pools right now with Bitcoin paired with the stablecoin. So let's move to other decentralized exchanges that might provide us some better opportunities for this pair. Now let's jump here on AERODROME, which is one of the main DEXs on Base chain, and Base also has a ton of volume. So there's going to be different Bitcoin tokens here, which technically they're not Bitcoin, but they are the equivalent of holding Bitcoin on this specific chain, for example. And we have TBTC with the wrapped Ethereum, so that's not what we're looking at. We want to just Bitcoin tokens paired with stablecoins, and here we have it. TBTC paired with USDC, 0.3% fee range, APR over 100%. So really on the high end of triple digits. Really like this. The thing on AERODROME is that when you provide liquidity here, you get paid with their native token AERO. You don't get paid with the fees. Of course, you can also swap AERO for more Bitcoin if you want. It's up to you, but just have that in mind. In this case, the fees will only be shared with the AERO holders. So if you have AERO tokens, you can lock them here. In return, you'll get AERO. Now you're a AERO holder, and then you'll get paid with the fees of a specific pair that you're providing liquidity. If you don't do that, you get paid solely with the AERO token, which is not a bad thing. AERO has been doing really well, and plenty of people are super bullish on AERO. But of course, have in mind that it is an inflationary token, it has no cap, and that can have its downside as well. So do account for that. But overall, I think it's also a really great option, especially if you are very active on base chain. This is a really great option for providing liquidity. It's also going to be a super low cost chain when it comes to fees. And the volume overall is a bit short of $500,000. It's a little over $400,000 right now. So overall, I like this pool. I mean, there's also not that much option here currently on base when it comes to Bitcoin pairs, but this one is doing very well in my opinion. Now we're looking at QUICKSWAP on Polygon chain, and this one right here does stand out, wrap Bitcoin paired with USDC.E. So it's not the simple USDC, it's another different stablecoin. It's after all USDC.E, but overall this has triple digits APR, 118% right now. The volume to TVL ratio is very close to 10x, so this is definitely doing super well for the past 24 hours at least. I think that Polygon is a bit overlooked when it comes to providing liquidity, and hence these pairs might go under the radar, but there you have it. Also a really good option that tends to do very well over time, tends to be really stable. Alright, so these are the best LPs right now to provide liquidity with Bitcoin for beginners. We just went through a ton of chains, a ton of DEXs, and if you want to automate some of those, you can do that. If you're using, for example, APERTURE Finance, you can go and start to automate some of these pools that I showed you on Uniswap or on PancakeSwap on some of these blockchains that they have here. If you're interested on that, I will link a video down below with the tutorial for APERTURE Finance so you can follow step by step and start automating your positions. At the same time, if you want to know more about these DEXs that I went through on this video, I also have fully comprehensive tutorials showing you how to operate with those specific DEXs, swap with them, search for pools, provide liquidity, etc. And I will also link all those videos down below. If you enjoyed this type of content, if you took value from it, like, subscribe. If you have some questions, drop them down below in the comments. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for watching. You know the drill. Take care, stay safe, because you know how crazy crypto can get, and I'll see you on the next one.